Support for First Coast Connect is provided in part by Baptist Health and North Florida TPO.
Opinions expressed on the First Coast Connect Week in Review are those of our panelists and do not reflect the views of WJCT News 89.9.
And good morning, I'm Dan Scanlon, sitting in for Ann Schindler, who's off today. It's Friday. That means it's time for our First Coast Week in Review. Among our topics, school officials react to concerns from parents and teachers about possible ICE enforcement on campus. City trash haulers threaten to sue if they don't get a 29% pay increase. Former district attorney Jackie Johnson acquitted in Georgia after a judge says prosecutors did not prove she interfered in the Ahmaud Arbery case. An unarmed man attacked by a Jacksonville police canine sues in federal court. And a key witness in the Jared Bridegan murder case walks back his confession, calling it false testimony. To talk about all that and more, I'm joined by author and Jax Today columnist Nikisha Williams.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Jacksonville.
Sylvia Perry, editor of the Jacksonville Free Press.
Good morning.
And an old buddy of mine, Frank Powers, longtime assistant assignment manager at News4Jax, recently retired but still very active.
Hi, Dan. How's the car running?
The car is still running. Thank you. All right, so let's talk first about what has been chewing up some time with the Duval County School Board and a lot of parents, and that is what to do if immigration officers come to local schools. We all know that the president is saying that they can go anywhere, schools, hospitals, churches. There's been some pushback. Those are the concerns prompting officials in Duval County School Board to issue guidance on how to respond. So what's the level of concern of immigration and customs enforcement officers that they might show up as part of a newly intensified deportation policy? What are teachers being advised to do? Well, they can't deny ICE access, and they can call Duval County School Board attorneys for requests beyond that. So let's just open up. Nikisha, you're a mom.
Mm-hmm.
I have a grandson in a public school. I'm intrigued. I've not heard of any ICE officials showing up in schools, but there has been some evidence posted socially that they have been starting to make some arrests in Jacksonville. So what are your thoughts about parental concerns and whether ICE can stroll into a school the same as, according to school district, the same as a Jacksonville police officer?
As a parent, I personally am not concerned. I think my greater concern is with how we are treating human beings, including children. And this is not something that is foreign to this country, as we saw with the first Trump administration and the family separation policy. And I understand that immigration is a problem that both parties have neglected to do something comprehensive about for decades, not just this century, but previous ones. But going into schools to round up children without parental consent, without legal representation, and to potentially detain them in preparation for deporting them is apprehensible to me. It is apprehensible. And so there has to be a better way to deal with the influx of migrants into the United States. And the answer should not be to completely dehumanize children who, under no fault of their own, are here to learn, to be educated, and to have a better opportunity, which is why most people came to this country. And so it really is reprehensible to me that schools feel like they are helpless, that they have no choice but to comply. I am from the city of Chicago, from the South Side until the day I die. And as we know, CPS has denied entry to ICE. There are consequences for noncompliance, but I would think that the safety of children matters more than dehumanizing them, traumatizing them so that they can be pulled away from a safe place where they are learning, where they are thriving, where they are growing, to be put on a plane to God knows where.
Well, you know, the consequences, the Duval County School Board Attorney Ray Poole said at the meeting on Tuesday, if a federal government were to perceive a school district as being obstructionist and not cooperating with the federal enforcement efforts, the receipt of federal funds is tied to compliance. And he said,
and we're talking about the same federal government that's threatening to shut down the Department of Education. So where's your funding come from? And by executive order wanted to cut off trillions of dollars to all parts of the federal government and systems and agencies and states and cities that receive federal money. So do they really care if you don't have any funding when they've already tried to cut it off?
I think this
Open it
is
up to the rest. Yeah.
this is the next step in our oligarch state that we're living in. You know, it appears that for the past 2 weeks, everyone is supposed to be living in fear. And while they have said that here in Duval County, no ICE officials have showed up at schools, it's circulating like wildfire. And in turn, parents are calling and they're afraid. And of course, they should be, because we just don't know what next dark cloud is hanging over us.
And you know, Frank, the other concern too is that the ICE might be showing up in a school where there's English as a second language, and just asked to start talking to kids.
Well, they can't. And that's why the Duval County school system set down specific guidelines for ICE agents. They said they will be treated like other law enforcement officers. They can come in. If they want to talk to a child, then the parents have to be present, which there's a potential scenario. And also the principal of the school has to be present. Now envision this. They come in. They say, all right, I want to talk to whoever. All right, we call the parents. Now, if the child is a dreamer who's born here and is a citizen, not an issue with the kids, it's the issue with the parents. If the parents are here and their documentation is not intact, do they come meet the ICE agents? That's the conundrum that could happen. I have yet to see anywhere in the United States where this has happened. It would be a colossal PR disaster for the administration if they actually went into a school, ignored the guidelines that were set down by the school district, and took a child into custody. There have been two major school districts other than Chicago, Denver and Bridgeport, Connecticut, have told ICE, no, you can't come in. So the stage is set for confrontation. I can't believe ICE wants that because it would look terrible.
Well, we've got a call from somebody who knows something here, but let me just throw this out. I did ask the mayor's administration for a statement, and Mayor Deegan said that the city will always follow the law as long as it's constitutional. We have a large, vibrant immigrant community here, and I want them to know that they matter, that we see them, and that we will help them in any way we can. Part of this is making sure they know their rights. All right, we've got Don from North Jacksonville, and he went to an immigration lawyers panel. Don, you're on the air. You have some comments to make about what you heard at that panel.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking my call. Yes, I went to this panel yesterday, and they said that there are two different kind of warrants. There's the administrative warrant, which is ICE, and the judicial warrant, which is a police officer or general law enforcement. And administrative warrants officers, they can speak to children without needing the permission of children. The permission of parents. So they can go to school if the school doesn't block them and lets them in. And some of the people that you have there, they said that they need to follow procedure, they need to follow the law. And right now, the government of Trump is acting very arbitrarily. They're doing whatever they want, bordering unconstitutional. So if they are able to enter a school and by forcing them by threats of cutting funding for the school, they can legally speak to the child without the parents' presence. And the panel said parents need to train their kids to tell the police, and they said that as young as they are, and they're in a situation they never dealt with because they're children, the parents need to have this conversation with them. They need to tell them they need not to speak to them. Even though they're being taught to respect law enforcement and authority, they need to teach them that they come to the school, they say, I do not speak to you, I only speak to a lawyer, and that's it. And they need to train them to say that. And to even have a paper or a card of a lawyer, immigration lawyer, in their backpack and give it to the officer present. I'm sorry, my mom, my dad told me not to speak to you. Second, they need to change some of the information, contact information in their school, who usually is the parents or an uncle. They need to put someone in there who is a friend, who is a citizen, who can come and pick them up.
All right. I thank you very much. That was a great update. That was Don. If you're just joining us, I'm talking to Keisha Williams, Sylvia Perry, and Frank Powers about the week's biggest headlines. You can join the conversation. You can call us at 904-549-2937. Send an email to firstcoastconnect@wjct.org. You can also watch our program live stream now on Facebook and the WJCT YouTube page. School board members have jumped in on this week at the meeting. April Carney said there's a flyer circulating that advised Monday was Immigration Protest Day, and she said that many kids did, in fact, miss that day. The sad part was that apparently was a school population census day, so it might have affected the numbers, which might affect the funding. And then Daryl Willie said, I'm looking at my board members at least to say we care about you. We want you to keep you safe. She says they should tell this to the parents and the kids. Yes, there are guidelines that we want to follow, but we're going to do every single thing we can to make sure you feel good when you get out of bed and try to come to school. I guess they want to make the kids feel safer. 70% apparently of the public school population is non-white. And there's a lot of those kids are ESOL. There's certainly some fear in the community, I would think, right now.
There's definitely fear. And the caller had a good idea for parents to be proactive in this, unfortunately, because they have to be. That's a very good idea. Have your child have a card. If there's a language barrier, just present the card, and that tells ICE they're not going to get anything out of them.
Okay, it is time now to change topics and talk trash, literally. In case you have been hiding under a garbage can of late, there is major debate happening as to whether or not the garbage fee that Duval County residents have been paying for a number of years is going to go up, how much and when, along with the fact that there's some debate coming from the mayor's office and city council as to whether or not to increase some of the funding to Meridian Waste that does most of the garbage collection. The mayor basically saying that the city council does not have the right to negotiate, that it is the mayor's administration to negotiate. So let's talk about the dispute over trash collection and who should foot the bill. First of all, Meridian Waste threatens to sue if the $12 million contract boost is blocked. Attorneys give the city till March 3rd to approve the contract raise, and the company services 80,000 homes in Arlington and Northside. Frank, let's talk trash.
No one wants to pay more for stuff that you get done on a weekly basis. We pay, $12 a month for the service, which is an assessment. I mean, we don't get the bill in the mail. But it hasn't gone up since 2010, and it's been years now since that fee has come even close to covering the actual cost. The city keeps taking money from the general fund to cover it, and that deficit, I think, was $40 million this year.
That's what's coming out of the general fund, yeah.
Right. And then on the other hand, you had the city council voted to approve that contract with a 29% increase, but they don't seem to want to approve raising the fee. So does that mean the deficit keeps getting bigger and bigger? You look at the council committee votes in the past week, and if you add things all up, I see 9 yes votes and 8 no votes. So there's 2 left. So that hearing and that meeting Tuesday night is going to be a barn burner.
And how many does the full council need to approve to make this?
10.
10. So now Paul Arias, Councilman Arias had indicated he wouldn't vote unless the mayor gave her approval. And at the Beaches meeting this week that she held, the town hall meeting, she did imply that she liked what she had seen. And incidentally, what that bill says, and that was Joe Carlucci's, not Matt Carlucci's,
the
bill,
Carlucci's are split on it.
Is the annual assessment for residential garbage collection is $324 in the 2025 tax bill, up from $151.80 annually.
It was more than double.
Right, more than double, and then goes to $354 per year in 2026, and then $384 in 2027. And there was another bill that would allow those who could prove they couldn't afford, that they would get some kind of break.
It was an exemption for low-income families.
So that's a lot of cash. That's double
in the first year, and then it would go up to another $25 in 26, and then another $25 in 27.
You'd think there'd be some folks who'd say, I'll put it on the back of the truck and take it out to the landfill myself. It's cheaper.
Well, and I tell you, 2 of the Beaches communities already pay more than that.
Double assessment, yes.
Right. Like I said, we all want the trash taken away in an orderly and timely fashion. We don't want to pay for it. We want somebody else to pay for it. Right now, that somebody else is the general fund, and the growth of that general fund deficit just isn't sustainable.
Right, and there's some who say the general fund is being dipped into too much of late, and the general fund is there for, emergencies, for
yes.
contingencies, and if you start biting into it, then you don't have emergency money.
That's the conundrum.
And I think that's a concern. We are facing, we had 4-3 approval in Rules Committee, 5-1 in Neighborhoods, rejected 5-2 in Finance, approved 5-2 in Transportation. So you're right. There's very much a mixed bill among the council members, and there's a lot of other issues coming up at the next council meeting. And this could take a long night's worth of chat.
Could be one that goes up to around midnight.
We've been there.
And you're probably going to have a long public comment period, too.
Right. So, any other comments here about the garbage fee? I mean, I know that I'm not per se happy when I see only one garbage pickup a week. If it's been, like, for example, next week after Super Bowl, our garbage cans are going to be full. And how do I know that? Because I once rode a garbage truck right after Super Bowl, and I had to pick up Grove Park's garbage and almost got stabbed with a pizza knife. So it's a lot of trash that's going to be out there, and that's more than one garbage can.
The Civic Council says it's worth it. Not only that the fee increase is way overdue, but just out of fairness to the beaches communities. I don't know how much weight Civic Council support has these days, because it certainly is not a popular position among taxpayers, that they will have to pay twice as much to get their trash hauled off.
We've got Charles on the west side, and wait a second. Yeah, Charles on the west side. And Charles, you've got an interesting comment. You're on the air. You don't mind the garbage fee tax increase, but?
Yeah, as long as I can get one of those great trash receptacles that I see many of my neighbors have that I don't have, because then I don't have to keep buying a new trash can every 6 months, you know.
What happens to it?
So, well, you know, the ones that you get at the store, they kind of fall apart from all the handling, but those the ones that are supplied to some of my neighbors from some of the trash companies, those are pretty sturdy.
Well, they're designed to be picked up remotely by an arm off the garbage truck.
Right.
So,
right.
Call them and say you need another one. They all have serial numbers on them.
630-CITY, 904-630-CITY should get you something sooner or later. So let's keep our fingers crossed on that one. And good luck. Thank you very much. We've got another call. Mark on the south side, garbage tax. Costs go up. So, Mark, what's your comment? You're on the air.
Hey, good morning.
Good
I'm
morning.
the last person in the world that wants to advocate for an increase in taxes, believe me. However, costs go up, and if we haven't taken an increase in 15 years, we had to pay our property tax recently, and I thought, man, that's a relatively inexpensive amount to weekly have as much garbage as I want put out in front of my house to have it picked up. So to me, it seems to be a no-brainer that we have to increase the prices and the fees for it. And you may have already touched on this, but what's the main argument of those that are against this proposal for not doing that? I mean, the money has to come from somewhere, and I just think it's naive to think that costs haven't gone up in 15 years, and so, okay, we got to pay a little bit more for it.
Well, I thank you for that, and I can answer that question. Some of what I've got here, some council members are opposed to further increases due to prior tax and fee hikes. There's the concern about fairness in the beaches residents. They're paying double or more in some of the communities out there for it because it's their local fee on top of the property tax. And Meridian Waste claims the city is using them as a political pawn in budgetary discussions. And it was 2 weeks ago that I went to the news conference with the mayor in her office regarding the actions of city council and some of the things about this. And that's where her comment that we're the negotiating arm, not city council, came from. So, any more trash talk here?
I definitely think that the onus of this situation belongs on the city because there should have been some oversight in looking at the big picture. In 15 years, there has not been an increase in garbage. But who goes 15 years without any type of a pay increase? So the downward effect is that it all happens at one time. Now, piggybacking on Frank, what Frank mentioned, $25 a year, you break that down, that's $2 a month to have your trash picked up. When you weigh what do I need versus what matters, $2 is worth your trash being picked up.
I also got the question that the recycling per se seems to have been somewhat of a failure in the city, and that we actually have also recycling cops out there right now to make sure you're doing it correct.
Plus, recycling doesn't get the bang for the buck anymore.
Right.
And every year it seems we get a notice at home saying, here's one more thing we don't want you putting in the recycle bins.
And don't forget this potential legal action out there. Meridian's attorneys accuse the city of failing to honor the contract terms. If the fee increase isn't passed, Meridian Waste threatens legal action to enforce the promised contract. Tom from the west side has a comment. Let's go to Tom. You're on the air.
Good morning. I just wanted to say that I don't think the city's doing everything it can to reduce costs, and I think they need to address that first. For starters, Meridian does not issue those trash cans that you were just talking about, so that increases their labor costs because they have to have actual people pick up and load the trash cans into the trucks. Also, the city has for years not been able to get a dump opened within the city, so they're hauling the trash outlandishly long distances, which dramatically increases the cost. Until the city does something about reducing the cost of trash pickup and maybe some of their other wild spending projects, they really don't need to come to the citizens yet until they've done their part.
Thank you. Yeah, that's right.
Pretty
Some
much
of us
what
who've been
Ron
around for a
Salem
while,
said
we remember
week.
there was a landfill in East Arlington. There was a landfill on Sunbeam Road.
Right.
There's some brownfield development going on both of those right now. But you're right. You have to go all the way past Maxfield down 301 to get to the landfill, which is a long haul. But who wants a landfill in their backyard?
And that was the proposal. The landfill that they had proposed was going to be near my neighborhood in Greenland and off of Mandarin.
Yep.
And my neighborhood circled a petition and got it shut down because who wants a landfill near their home? But as the city needs to do its due diligence about cutting costs, the citizens also have to do their due diligence about knowing that things are going to increase in cost. We pay more for JEA than we did last year and the year before that and the year before that because they keep increasing. They keep doing rate hikes because of the cost of energy. The same thing should go for trash pickup, just as the same thing has gone for when we talk about the half-cent sales tax that went to go fund schools and teacher increases and the building updates in Duval County schools, even though we now have like $100 billion shortfall. So things cost more. The cost of living has increased. Inflation is real, and it hits every sector of everyone all the time. And that we have not had an increase in 15 years is a failure, I think, by the city to properly manage those costs by dipping into the general fund and just making it plain like our costs are going up. Recycling actually loses us money than makes us money. And so we need to pass those costs on to the consumer or on to the homeowners. They haven't done that in 15 years. So now all of a sudden when you say it's going to go from $151 to like $3-something, it's like, oh my God, why are you doubling it in a year? But these are the costs that we have not paid for the last 15 years. They've got to come at some point.
Some should say we should have done incremental increases over the years.
Right. Over the last
Over the
15
past
years,
15
yes.
Have hurt us so bad. Mark just emailed us, so I finished my federal income taxes, and they're $7,600. For that, I get national defense, interstate highways, national parks and waterways, etc. My Duval County property taxes are $3,800. For that, he gets forever construction on Merrill, Fort Caroline, McCormick, potholes on Bunker Hill, high crime. But hey, the stadium might look good. That was an email comment. So I guess let us move on from trash talk to the next point. And don't forget to call us at 904-549-2937 or send an email to firstcoastconnect at wjct.org. And don't forget to watch us live stream now on Facebook and WJCT's YouTube page. Let's talk about Jackie Johnson up in Georgia. The former prosecutor up there, the former Brunswick district attorney, the judge threw out her case this week in the Ahmaud Arbery case, or the fall from that case, saying prosecutors presented no evidence that she had committed any crime. And the case of this case, of course, stems back to that horrible video of Ahmaud Arbery being chased and then ultimately killed because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and those people thought that he had burglarized a house under construction.
First of all, he was not in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was running. He had the freedom to run and was therefore able to do so wherever he felt like it, including in the neighborhood of Satia Shores. Let's start there. Secondly, there is no reason why he should have been murdered on February 23rd, but the people who have ultimately been convicted and sentenced to life for that murder were not arrested or even really questioned until, April, May of 22.
2 months later.
Yes, 2 months later when the video came out. We should not have to see anyone, but especially Black people, murdered on video for a prosecutor or a police department to say, you know what, maybe we should investigate that. There is no reason why 3 people should be able to chase down a citizen, a law-abiding citizen who was running for some exercise or because he felt like it, and say, I don't like the way you look. I don't know what you were doing in my neighborhood. I don't know why you were running through this empty and vacant house. And so you have to stop and talk to us. And if you don't, I'm going to pump you from a shotgun. Absolutely not. There is no reason why that should have happened. He should not be dead. And because Jackie Johnson's case was thrown out on a technicality, we see that the criminal legal system is not about justice. It never has been. It is a system of laws, and cases can be thrown out or brought or dropped at the whim and discretion of a judge, or if there's prosecutorial misconduct, or if there are typos in the indictment or the document. That is not justice. It's not. So her case was dropped. It was on a technicality. The judge apologized to the family. Ahmaud is still dead, and he shouldn't be.
And let's not forget, for those who've forgotten, that apparently the claim was that at least one of those men had worked or had been part of a staff that she handled, and that was the reason why there was some protection.
Weren't one of the McMichaels part of the Brunswick Police Department?
Yeah, so that
and
was
a former
retired. Yes,
investigator for Jackie Johnson.
Exactly.
And there was contact. The problem with the case was it was lost before the defense even started calling witnesses, because it's never a good thing when you have prosecution witnesses on cross-examination say, no, we never saw Jackie Johnson do anything to hamper the investigation. And that got rid of the misdemeanor charge by the judge. And then after the defense started calling its witness, the judge basically said, I've heard enough. And then he dismissed the felony charge of failure to uphold the oath of office. The family of Ahmaud Arbery was honestly, we saw the comments they made after the court. They were upset, but they said, we acknowledge that the judge was following the law. The men who killed him are still in prison, both on federal and state charges. Of course, the appeals will go on for years, but the evidence was overwhelming, and that's the thing that the family will have to take away. They didn't get the prosecutor, but the men who killed him are paying with the rest of their lives in prison.
And again, one of them shot video of it, which is sort of sealing their own indictment. You know,
and then GBI came in and took over and very quickly arrested them where the state prosecutors had not.
Any other comments on this? I mean, obviously, Ahmaud Arbery's mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, said she's in shock. The evidence was there. Arbery's father, Marcus Arbery, said it's devastating. Elected officials need accountability. The good news that they all admitted, as Nikisha said, is, and you said, Frank, is they're in prison on state and federal charges, and there they will remain for a long time. They can appeal and appeal. That doesn't seem to be getting anywhere for them.
So far, no.
But she gave a very tearful debate on the stand, Ms. Johnson did, when she was called up the day before the ruling, and very tearful. Was there any impact, you think, to that on her statement that she did nothing, she was not involved, that might have swayed the judge, or was it all facts because it was a no-win situation?
The game was already over. When you throw out the misdemeanor charge, which is the basis for not upholding your oath, then it was a done deal.
Let me throw this one out. Does she run again for office?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
She's too tainted.
Let's go back, because when you talk about that on cross-examination, the prosecutorial witnesses were saying that they never saw Jackie Johnson do anything. She didn't have to do anything that would give the impropriety of being illegal. The fact that we know the connections between Jackie Johnson and one of the McMichaels, and that there was no arrest until after the video came out, and then it was only by the Georgia Bureau of Education, is what she did. She did nothing. And that should be a crime, when you do nothing because you know the people who are involved. And so you're giving them the benefit of the doubt and accepting their privilege and their word for something that you were not there for. And then when you saw the video, still did nothing about. That is what she did. That is not nothing. That is just letting it go. So, okay, it was thrown out. But then let's go back to the part about the tears. Maybe it swayed the judge, maybe it didn't, but I'm going to say it and I'm going to let it go. White women's tears have been weaponized against black people for decades. For decades. How many black people, men, women, and children, are dead because a white woman pointed a finger at them and cried? And how many times has the United States, local, state, or federal, believed them for it? From the Central Park Five that the now sitting president called for the execution of, at the hand of a white woman and they were not guilty. It's happened over and over and over again. She didn't have to do anything illegal. She didn't have to do anything that was considered an impropriety of her office. The fact that she did nothing was enough, and Ahmaud is still dead.
You know, this is not over yet. I'm sure there will be some kind of civil lawsuit or some action. And speaking about lawsuits, we'll get to that by just reminding you, first of all, that join the conversation at 904-549-2937. Email us at firstcoastconnect@wjct.org or message us on First Coast Connect Facebook or Instagram pages. So let's move on to a story with a little more bite. A Jacksonville man, Joseph Bratcher, is suing the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office and 3 officers alleging his constitutional rights were violated during a May 2023 traffic stop. And you know, the bottom line here, Frank, you've seen the video, the body cam. I guess the most telling is he was dragged. A police officer's canine was sicked on him, grabbed him by the arm.
He goes down.
He goes down and is dragged with a trail of blood. And this lawsuit basically is claiming that he did nothing wrong other than be there when police were responding to a nearby shooting.
Right. So let's set the stage. Right. That happened that night on May 17th, 2023. There was a homicide. Officer responding, going toward the homicide, sees a car coming at a high rate of speed from the other direction. He pulls him over. You can hear in the body cam audio the dispatcher saying, suspect believed to be driving a dark-colored sedan. He's got a dark-colored sedan. So the officer who pulled him over, who, by the way, is not one of the ones named in the lawsuit, tells him to get out. He hesitates, says he's afraid. You know, he sees officers surrounding him with guns drawn. He's afraid he's going to die. He does eventually get out. He starts walking, following the commands. But the officers, evidently, at least the canine officer, didn't think he was responding fast enough. The dog clamps on his arm. He goes down. You can see the dog actually starting to drag the man, Mr. Bratcher, toward the officer, and then they take him into custody and begin medical treatment. It's compelling video. It doesn't look good. Whether or not it's going to convince a federal jury that was a violation of the man's rights, I don't know. You know, it's the gray area of what is compliance and how fast is compliance.
You know, this comes out not weeks after another man was pulled over on North Main Street by a police officer. And as that police officer was trying to get the gun out of his holster, which was inside his waistband, and the video is very compelling there, too. You can see her fingers literally go onto the trigger, and she shoots the guy in the leg. And if there hadn't been quick response, he might not have been around. But now he and his attorney are discussing legal action. Is there some issue about officer training here that maybe needs to be brought up? Or is this a case of this man did nothing, talking about the federal lawsuit, did nothing other than maybe edge a little close to one of the officers responding to another shooting, and mistaken identity ends up with him somewhat seriously injured, if not disfigured, by this police dog attack?
Training by JSO is always brought into a contributing factor status in these cases. Years ago, there was a series of lawsuits against the Mike Williams administration, and a federal judge just ripped the department a new one, saying this is another evidence of poor training by JSO. We keep seeing these cases over and over again. When are they going to improve their training? So, yes, training goes to these cases while they keep happening.
But, Sylvia, this man's charges were ultimately dropped, and they were nothing more than obstruction, basically. There was nothing else there.
Driving and
Resisting without violence.
There was nothing there, and they were dropped by the prosecution. Again, the old saw is that if the prosecution knows the jury's not going to believe it, they will pull it before it gets to court. So,
Yes, and we all know that JSO is no stranger to excessive force, and it never seems to get any attention until it comes out on social media and the video is revealed. And that, again, happened in this case. Also, when they requested the records for the canine activity with JSO, they were hit, meaning the litigants, they were hit with a $35,000 bill.
and it would take months to get.
Which further says, is a warning to leave us alone, I think.
All right, let's go to a caller. Linda from Mandarin, you've got a comment on police officers. Linda, you're on the line. Linda? Okay. We will go on. We have another caller. We'll get that in a second. Stanley and William on the South Side regarding police training. William, you're on the line.
Thank you. I just wanted to make the comment that this is beyond training. You know, we have a lot of situations that's going on. I'm a black man. I live on the South Side. I walk every day, and I am literally scared for my life because a police officer may see me just walking, and I may fit the description. So I'm not going to have time to tell him, look, I walk every day. I live in this community. I'm an educator. I'm a business owner. And I want to do my best to promote Jacksonville, but when I'm walking scared and I have JSO officers driving by me, looking at me, I bet 95 to almost 100% of men of color in this community are scared that we are going to be stopped and dogs sicked on us or police officers are going to pull guns on us. And this really needs to change. This, for me, it's beyond training. It's behavior and a culture of racism in Jacksonville against people of color to automatically assume that we're all bad. And this really needs to stop. You can have all the training in the world. When I was teaching, we had training, diversity training, ethics training, all of that. But it still boiled down to the teacher's behavior in the classroom. Now it boils down to the behavior of the officers in Jacksonville. And it really does need to change. Any situation like that, it shows the people in this community that we are not counted as equal. We don't have equal rights, and we are treated like subservient people in this community, and it's wrong. And that's just my comment.
Thank you, William. Yeah, I've seen some body cam video where police officers have behaved admirably and well and negotiated and talked, and I've seen body cam where it appears that there's been some very sharp tempers. Let us go back. Linda, you have called us again. Linda, you have a comment on police officers.
Yes, I think we and it's hard because we have to understand, not my understanding due to history, police officers came about as due to slave catchers. They kind of, deputized these men to do this work. So I think that historically has been the adversarial relationship between police and black people. But I just am more challenged to wonder how it is that, I do have rights. So if an officer stops me he should have probable cause. I'm not, this is not a police state yet, so they need to tell me why they want to talk to me. And everybody is not a suspect. I mean, what was the description? Black person. Okay. Why is it that we have serial killers and mass killers that don't seem to, they can be taken into custody and they have a long gun, but they're white?
All right.
Dylan Roof was taken in and he got a burger. So training, and there is bias, and we just need the officers to understand, if they're that scared, they don't need to be a police officer.
Thank you, Linda. Let's move on to the biggest story that is probably happening right now, a hearing being held. We learned this week that a key state witness in a high-profile death penalty case now says his testimony was false. That is Henry Tenen, confessed to killing father of 4 Jared Bridegan in Jacks Beach as part of a contract killing. As part of the plea deal, he agreed to testify against Bridegan's ex and her new husband. The case continuing, let's talk about the bombshell that was dropped with the judge saying, no, don't say that, and it was said. Frank, you were there?
I was not there.
Okay.
I wish I had been. I might be there later this morning, but the shock that must have been on the face of his lawyer, Alan Chipperfield, must have been priceless, because he also said, we got to talk about this, and Judge Kite, who has had an adventure on the bench in this case. I've watched God knows how many hours of hearings on this. She told him, you got to stop right there. So what part of his testimony he was claiming was false, we don't know. That's what they're talking about now. The defense attorneys for Shanna Gardner and Mario Fernandez pounced on that. They have both filed motions saying, we want everything that led up to this. Because if Henry Tenen, who admitted to being the shooter, now is backtracking, unfortunately for the state, that leads to a scenario some point down the line, and it's this. There's going to be at least one trial, maybe 2 in this. Tenen's going to be on the stand, and the defense lawyer is going to say in front of the jury, Mr. Tenen, were you lying then, or are you lying today? and that goes to credibility.
You know, Fernandez and Gardner's attorney has already spoken in front of the courthouse with the prosecutor standing right behind us reporters about the fact that there were certain things that were released that shouldn't have, certain things seen by attorneys that shouldn't have, private emails and text messages.
Yes.
And there's been missteps, and you yourself have said that this trial was not going to happen for quite some time. What could that false testimony be? Could it be that Tenon will claim, I lied when I said I pulled the trigger? Will it be that he maybe had somebody else with him? Or is it just a minor little thing, but he just decided to throw that in for the fun of it?
I would love to know. And that's what they're talking about now. Remember, they don't have the murder weapon. They do have the tire. The I wouldn't say the physical evidence, but the circumstantial evidence against Mr. Tenon backing up his confession is fairly strong. They have the checks that they found at his house that were written to him by Mario Fernandez. They have the tire that was found at his house that was a perfect match for the tire that was found at the ambush scene. So he may try to recant that. He'll be confronted with the evidence, and I'm sure anybody who's had contact with him, the prosecutorial team is asking them, did you say something to him to maybe make him change his mind?
For those who forget, the father was bringing a child home to Jack's Beach, came down a road, had to stop because there was a tire in the middle of the road. As he got out of the vehicle to pull that tire out of the road, he was shot in full view of his child in the back seat. And then Beach's police had some ring camera video of a Ford F-150 driving quickly away from it. And if you're a car guy like me, you recognize that tire as an F-150 tire. And then the dice started falling, and it was proved to be Tenon, at least in the vehicle. And there's been so much obfuscation on this one, so much discussion, so much debate, so many motions filed. With 2 minutes left to go on this topic with you guys, let us just try to wrap it up. What is the next year going to be like for this case?
More motions by the defense. They have sought to recuse Melissa Nelson's office. They have sought the removal of the lead prosecutor. They've gone after the lead detective. They have run a couple of writs up to the District Court of Appeals. I would not be surprised if they try to get Judge Kite removed. The trial right now is set for October. No way. They haven't even started talking about the death penalty motions.
And the other question would be, Judge Kite tried to stop Tenon from speaking. Could someone, again, seriously, you mentioned this, throw it out that she's not had control? I don't know if you can call a mistrial yet, but can there be, what would it be?
A motion for recusal. That can be filed anytime.
Any other comments before we wrap up this?
More obfuscation, more confusion, more foolishness.
That's just what defense attorneys don't defend. They attack. And that's
meanwhile,
what we've been seeing.
A nice guy is dead, and these children don't know a father. Well, let us wrap it up. Nikisha Williams, Sylvia Perry, and Frank Powers, thank you all for being here and discussing some of the wild and wacky of this week's news.
It was one.
And we'll be back real soon.
Happy Black History Month.
Thank you.
Congaree & Penn, dedicated to agriculture and culinary endeavors, offering field-to-fork dining and outdoor experiences on over 300 acres. Sip, dine, explore. Information at congareeandpenn.com. Terrell Hogan Law.
I'm Wayne Hogan. Car accidents happen too often for your family to go unprotected. Uninsured motorist insurance. When you need it, will you have it?
More at terrellhoganlaw.com.
On the next Florida Roundup, we go to the Flamingos. We'll be live from Zoo Miami. We'll talk about how the state's most populous county is responding to the condominium crisis. Also, the threat of invasive animals across the state. What do you do about the iguanas lurking around your neighborhood? Are there lionfish swimming where you go fishing? Email us radio@thefloridaroundup.org. This is Tom Hudson. Join us live Friday noon until 1.
President Trump and Elon Musk ramp up their sweeping overhaul of the government. USAID is shuttered. Is the Department of Education next?
I want the states to run schools, and I want Linda to put herself out of a job.
Protests ramp up, egg prices soar, and fears grow in Washington that a government shutdown is unavoidable. More on the Friday News Roundup next time on 1A.
Today, starting at 10 on WJCT News 89.9.
And we're back. Players by the Sea's upcoming production of Funny Girl brings to life the journey of Fanny Brice, a comedian who rose from humble beginnings to Broadway stardom and even a pretty cool radio show, because I am a radio geek. Joining me to discuss what audiences could expect is Bradley Akers, the director.
Hi, hello.
Hello. Julia Blasi, actress performing Fanny Brice's role, and Brandon Hines, the actor performing the role of Eddie Ryan, a dancer Fanny meets while working in, vaudeville. Back on stage. Thanks for joining us, guys. Players by the Sea, 60th season. That is amazing. You're kicking off with Funny Girl. So what is it about the musical that aligns with your vision for this milestone season? Take it away.
Well, interestingly, the last time Funny Girl was seen on stage in Jacksonville was in 1967, which is just 1 year shy of our founding. And so when we were looking to craft the 60th season, we really wanted a remarkable, dazzling, big start to our opening year, but we wanted something that wasn't super contemporary. We wanted to honor the past. You know, we've done this sort of golden age musical in the past. It was wildly successful, and our artists in town don't really get to do it a lot. So we were thrilled to be able to get the rights to this. They're in their coveted rights, and it's the perfect start to our 60th season.
Well, Julia, you know, I'm being a film geek. I'm well aware of the Barbra Streisand film. And I've, like I said, I've listened to Fanny Brice on radio playing the little girl. So what attracted you to the role? What makes you want to get on stage and belt out songs like Don't Rain on My Parade and People?
Well, I've loved this role, the movie, the staged musical since I was a little girl. And actually, my grandfather loved Barbra Streisand, and he always had her records on.
So did my dad.
Yeah, and I grew up hearing her music and singing these songs, and I picked up theater as a teenager, and my parents actually taught me all of the music from the show before I was able to read sheet music. And I just love that the character has so much ambition and wit and drive, and it's a nice, joyful story. It has a little bit of everything, and it's just so much fun.
Now, Fanny Brice, Barbra Streisand, they're not shrinking violets. They belt out those tunes and they belt out those words. You're up to the task, I presume, if you're on stage for this, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so much fun to sing these songs. And, you know, if I can even do them a little justice, I'll be very proud of myself, because these are some big shoes to fill. But the music is fun, and it's energetic, and it's exciting, and I'm so proud to be a part of it.
You know, a lot of the film work that I've done, all of it has been volunteer. We get some pizza if we're lucky. You're all volunteers. So you play Eddie. What's it like being on stage, knowing that you're not getting paid, but maybe you get as your payment?
It's really fulfilling. I personally love just being on stage, reacting with other actors, you know, experiencing the stage. The applause is nice, but I mostly do it because I love to perform, and I love being on stage, the lights hitting me, the music. It's great. It's so much fun.
Well, just to let you know, Funny Girls plays on the main stage for the Players by the Sea from February 21st through March 9th, and it is epic. I mean, you guys tell me, what do you want the audience to be doing as they walk out after those performances?
Crying, smiling, laughing, being so thankful that we were able to share this moment in time that will never be able to be recreated. Our season this year is about hope, joy, and togetherness. And Funny Girl is the perfect way to start that. We want people leaving feeling excited, feeling like there's opportunity, feeling like, there's so much love in the air, and we get to be a part of that. That's what we hope people do.
So you want people to need people.
They're the luckiest people in the world.
See, now I hate to. Now, probably there's people out there who will be singing that the rest of the day till their coworkers throw things at them. I was actually humming some of this to myself this morning because my parents used to watch it all the time. It was on New York City TV, and I've watched it as late as a few years ago on TCM. It's just. Do you want people to walk out singing the songs? young and old?
I hope so. I hope they save it maybe for after the show.
Yeah.
But maybe Julia, you'll have some people singing with you,
It'll
and
be a
that would
duet.
be beautiful.
Okay, I'm looking at the energy just in this studio. Is there energy on stage? I mean, this is not a laid-back play or film by any means. Eddie?
Yeah, there's a
Eddie? Sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot of energy on stage. Yes, the story gets a little bit like sad or dark towards the end, but up until then, it's very energetic, full of love. Like Fanny learning about what she wants in life and going for her goal is just very uplifting. I love this show so much.
I do boom mic work on films, and I'll tell you, there's an occasional scene or two that I can remember where I was almost crying because the actor was emoting so much, and within 6 feet of me. Where's the most emotion in this play? Is it the sad parts? Is it the happy parts? And are you feeding off of that on stage?
I wouldn't say that there's more emotion in the sad parts or the happy parts, but I think there is this through line of love and community in the show. And so because there's so much joy, especially toward the beginning and in the friendships between, Fanny and Eddie and her whole community, having that love as the through line makes the sadness hit so much harder because there's so much care between these characters.
And let me ask the director here. Older folks remember the film. Younger folks may not know any of this. You want the young folks there. And what's the biggest challenge in making sure you get a good audience reaction?
People are going to know the film, and that's great. And this is a way to introduce young people to classic films, classic musicals. So we're thrilled.
All right, Brett. Thank you, everybody here. This is the Funny Girl Gang here. That's our program. Thank you for listening. If you have feedback or suggestions, send either to firstcoastconnect at wjct.org. If you missed anything, catch our rebroadcast at 8 p.m. tonight. You can also hear the entire archive at wjct.org. Don't forget to listen Saturday at 4. Neurologist Dr. Joe Servin does his thing. Executive producer, David Luckin. Show producer, Stacey Bennett, and the whole gang behind the glass. Thank you very much, and have a great, sunny weekend.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided by Baptist Health and the North Florida TPO.
Baptist Health is a proud supporter of First Coast Connect. Baptist Health, committed to building a healthier community for all of us. More info at 202-4YOU or baptistjacks.com. The North Florida TPO is dedicated to transportation planning, funding, clean fuels, and new technologies for a vibrant, resilient, and connected region. More information available at northfloridatpo.com.